Are we recording? Is this thing on?
Yes, it is. Welcome to RevOps 500, where we invite the world's top marketers to answer the tough questions facing growing organizations.
Ooh, sounds important.
I'm Sajeel Qureshi.
And I'm Gil Faye. Join us as we dive deep into the world of RevOps.
We'll be learning strategies and expertise from first-hand experience. RevOps 500 is sponsored by Computent. They provide technical and development expertise in growth-focused marketing.
Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Sajeel Qureshi here with another episode of RevOps 500, where we interview some of the world's greatest B2B marketers in current day and history. Yeah. So today is someone I am extremely excited to learn from. They're a legendary marketing leader who's honed their skills for over 15 years in the business. They've got a lot of skills as a corporate marketer, and they have a lot of skills taking complex issues and simplifying them. And they're good at and they're experts at building sales funnels. Right now, they're also the founder and head of marketing at Differ. Brian Stout, welcome to RevOps 500.
Thank you. That was a great introduction. I had to get that from you because it makes me sound better than I actually feel like I am most days.
It's all on your Wikipedia page, Brian. That's where we found it from.
Yeah. I must do a good job of selling myself on LinkedIn and other places, but yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Of course. So anyway, Brian, let's dive right into it. So in your opinion, what is one RevOps myth that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Oh man, there's so many. But probably one of my favorite is that it's just, something from sales. It's like an evolution of sales operations, because that's where I came from. I spent a lot of time in sales operations. But that is a huge myth, that it is just not an extension of sales operations. That's just a small piece of it. It's, as you know, and the listeners of this know, that it's the alignment of all the many departments, from sales, marketing, customer success, that make a great RevOps program solution inside of a company. And it's all about the customer. Like at the end of the day, right? Everything is to provide value to the customer and make it seamless. And for so many years, like growing up, kind of leading in sales operations, we were siloed from what was happening in marketing operations. And then I took over sales and marketing operations. So we get alignment from those two departments, but we were still missing that customer success, service piece of it. Sure. So I think the technology and, better alignment inside of organizations, we're seeing, the evolution of that. And it's just going to continue to grow as more solutions for B2Bs kind of focus on, making that seamless for the customer. Because at the end of the day, you want to make it seamless, the handoff seamless, and that kind of stuff, and the communication seamless. So you need technology, but you need people that are working together, all swimming, rowing, whatever analogy you want to give, but you want everybody working in the to the benefit of the customer. So easy.
Okay, so Brian, you said that people think that RevOps is just an extension or a sequel to SalesOps. So why do you think people feel that way? What is it about RevOps that makes people feel like, oh, that's just, SalesOps Part 2 or something like that? It's a sequel.
Yeah, I mean, from experience, a lot of times that in organizations where they have kind of carved out that role, and they've made, they've actually invested, and they have a chief revenue officer, right? That's responsible for that. That person typically comes from BD, or they come from sales. Rarely do they come from marketing or customer success or support. So you get that kind of, those are the tools and technology that they've used. Everything's typically built in and around something like a Salesforce or a HubSpot, which are primarily sales tools that, other departments use. So that's what ends up happening is people think that it's SalesOps, just with a new name, right? But I mean, if you think about it, everybody in the organization should be in the revenue ops business, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, to generate revenue so we can continue to provide value to our customers. And if we don't do that, if we're misaligned, then we're missing opportunities. We're missing out on those sales. We're Our marketing spend is being wasted. Our customers are calling upset. They've got problems. The account managers that are trying to help them be more successful are running into obstacles with the customer. So yeah, it's just, from this, again, this is just like every other organization. What works for my organization doesn't always work for everybody else's organization. But what I've seen is, they have this misconception that it's sales ops, and that it's just now it's a tool and technology to align these groups. But it has to be more than that. It has to be strategies, processes, people, that kind of stuff. That's what makes it work.
Okay, so if we say that most people that go into RevOps come in from sales, and then it's about people, strategy, process, how would somebody in sales kind of get to the point where they can put RevOps throughout the entire business? Like, that means getting marketing buy-in. Usually those two are kind of restricted between the marketing department and the sales department. How do you kind of overcome that if you're a red-blooded salesperson? How do you get buy-in and maybe play politics a little bit? How do you do it?
Yeah, a lot of it's going to depend on the size of the organization, but I find that when they have trouble kind of understanding like what's happening in marketing or what's happening in customer success, like you've got to spend a day in the life. You've got to, like as that RevOps leader, you've got to, get more aligned. You've got to get in the trenches with those other leaders and the teams to understand, kind of what it is that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, the challenges that they have. Because yeah, if you come at from a sales point, you're going to have like your sales. The same thing for marketing. I'm not giving marketing a pass here either, or customer success, because there's lots of CROs or, other RevOps leaders. If they don't, if they just, it's more of a committee than an actual position. You've got to understand the challenges that your peers in the other areas of the business are having, so that you can get that alignment. Because I've grown up in B2B technology sales for 20 years. Like my first foray was kind of more of an analyst on the sales side, right? Working for for a VP of sales, providing information for his organization so they could do a better job at capturing revenue, and then it grew into, as I got into larger companies, I had a sales ops role, and then I became sales and marketing ops. And I got to see, like, I learned more about marketing, once I kind of took over from sales and marketing operations in a $5 billion company. Because I then had that exposure to the, the marketing challenges and that kind of thing. So I'm sorry, I could tell lots of stories.
No.
But yeah, it's, it's an evolution. Like they eventually, my department I took over was called commercial operations, 16 years ago. And commercial ops or commercial programs in some organization, same intent of RevOps, but this was pre-2010s when RevOps really started to take hold in organizations, and you started seeing people being kind of carved out to take on that position, to align the different technology solutions that, customer success, sales, and marketing all were using disparately in those silos. Right? Silos have been a problem in every organization for a long time. We get these Frankenstein stacks, right? That you have to kind of patch together, and RevOps was meant to kind of help alleviate some of those pains and stop that.
So if you are saying, Brian, like, you talked a lot about how you have to, walk in your world, walk a mile, in my world, walk a kilometer, in the shoes of different businesses, you can see kind of how that's how a RevOps leader gets to know, okay, what are the challenges in marketing or customer success or sales or service delivery. And you said your department used to be called, now it's be called commercial ops, which is kind of like RevOps, and it's like a synonym almost for those things. And then before that, you talked about technology and processes. Now, what if you merge the two? Like, is there anything like that you could think of technically right now that keeps you up at night? Like, let's say, for example, I know you're on the ground floor now, right? So like, does technology keep you up at night, like you're the role player trying to solve some sort of a problem technically? I mean, what is your where are you at right now technically with because it's a different team for you right now than what you're used to.
Yeah, it's so much smaller than what I'm used to.
Yep.
And in more than anything, it's the technology. It, you pick a solution that you think is going to make it easy for your organization.
Yep.
And if you don't have a good strategy going into that, it's just, you're still going to have the same problems, whether you have the most enterprise elite solution on the market available to help you execute on your ABM strategies and your, just the technology often fails because we don't have a good strategy or process in place, and the people aren't equipped to go in and use them. And then that's what I've experienced in some past companies is we've transitioned from one technology vendor. We went from a HubSpot to a Salesforce as an example,
Sure.
because there was just pressures to move to what some would consider a more enterprise solution, which I kind of I chuckle when I think about that, because HubSpot is is just as good at if you have the right strategy and process, again, as as even a Salesforce. It's the
Salesforce, yeah,
people using it and
of course.
the teams that are creating that alignment. If they're doing it wrong in either one of those technologies, they're still going to fail. So
Yeah.
uh, yeah, you've got it. I mean, the technology sometimes can be a stumbling block. People put a lot of focus on that inside of RevOps, like what solution you have, because sales wants this or marketing wants that. And
Absolutely.
you still have those kind of those bitter fights, in my experience. But yeah, with my small company, um, we go with a solution that's economical, and we have the same growing pains that a big company has, just getting the right setup, getting the right systems in place, making sure that we don't drop any support, make sure that we take advantage of every lead and opportunity that we're working efficiently and are passing those on. So yeah, it's just, I mean, the technology that is a piece of it, but the strategy, process, and people are so much more important to the
Yeah.
overall thing as well, because it's just like the silos we had before with the technology, like that they didn't talk to each other,
They talk to each other.
had to communicate.
So if you have systems that don't talk to one another and you're using like something very basic right now to kind of bootstrap yourself along, how do you manage all that? Isn't that a lot of time to do like manipulation of data and stuff like that, or no?
Um, yeah, it's a bad example for where I'm at today, because it's,
Okay.
we haven't scaled yet to the point where we have those growing pains.
Okay.
If in my past companies, definitely that was a problem, just
Okay.
the speed at which we were able to turn around, setting up new sequences and getting the data out of those sequences and getting that into the hands of our business development teams and SDRs, so that they could follow up on that, and that kind of stuff. And that's a better example. Yeah, but right now with what I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis is like it's not a problem, because
Not a problem.
there's
Yeah.
still a lot of growth ahead, that kind of thing.
Understood. And where do you see, so as you look forward and as to where you are now, where do you see the future of your RevOps operation looking like? Right now you're on the ground floor. Where do you see it heading? Just your own operation and even like the whole industry. Where do you see those things going, Brian?
Yeah, for my organization, as we bring on new people, it's making sure that we don't get misaligned is a key, because new people, new backgrounds, new new use cases of the technology, or how you do those things inside your organization. So that's always it's always an issue anytime you grow. You've got to keep everybody aligned to the way the things are working. Where everything's working great
100%.
right now with the small team, but as we grow, and I think that's going to be a challenge for any team that I've been through a lot of acquisitions with businesses, being the acquirer and being the acquired. When I ran SalesOps, we acquired like 4 businesses, and everybody was using a different, everybody was using a different technology stack for their sales and marketing organizations and customer success and service. So what we had to do was we had to get aligned. And that was a process. We had a process that we put in place. And I thought that was like, that was one of the best things we did is we had a program, what we called Embrace and Enhance. Like we didn't come in and immediately disrupt these smaller organizations that we kind of brought into our larger organization to fill out our DNA sequence of our customer solution. What we did is we kind of came in, tried to understand what they were using, if they could continue using the sales tools that they were using without, if they were completely separate markets, there was no need to be able to communicate with other areas within the bigger organization. We didn't immediately come in and say, okay, you've got to move off of, say sales logics and move that to Salesforce. Like, we let them continue to use that because they were being successful. That's why we acquired them. So there is a lot of disruption anytime there's acquisitions. I mean, the last company I was at had acquired 2 companies in 3 years, and everybody was using some different technology and, talk about like getting alignment and getting the data. There was a lot of manipulation in spreadsheets and putting things into into different tools so that we could get everybody to see the information on the same customers, just in different sales tools and marketing tools. So that's always a challenge. I mean, every company that makes an acquisition is going to have that. There's just not a quick fix for that.
Right, easy fix. So like let's talk about that a little bit. If you're in a company that like say you have your sales, sales, marketing, customer success all aligned in a really nice RevOps organization, then all of a sudden you guys are acquiring somebody else and you have to bring in their service delivery, their marketing, their sales. I mean, how do you do that? What does that process look like? I mean, I've never ever seen that before. What is that like?
Oh wow. Yeah, no, it takes a village. It takes a team really. And you have to, the best organizations really, when they're doing that, they put somebody overall that leads the project, leads the integration between the 2 organizations for the different areas. And that way somebody has ownership, like, and they have oversight, and their whole job. I mean, a great project manager, whether it's in product or, or in integrations of services and technology, if you have somebody that kind of has that ownership and they have that oversight and they're working with the different departments, they liaise on behalf of everyone to get everything correct, aligned. And it takes time. I mean, these things don't happen overnight. You don't immediately flip the switch and then the very next day. Now, I have admitted when I was working as a sales analyst, I guess is what you would call me back then. That was my whole job. Was I was going to create a database for the new acquired company so that our sales team and their sales team, like we'd align all the accounts on that first day in a, kind of a database. And I was going to send out reports until we could get the technology stacks set up. And that was going to be kind of the major thing that I was going to do, for the job. And then the deal fell through and somebody else came in and acquired the company, and completely different, acquired our company, came in and did a completely different thing. So I didn't end up having to work on that, but yeah, it's just it's challenging. It's challenging doing those types of integrations between companies that are on different. I mean, like the business systems, like email on different email platforms, just different Slack versions, different. I mean, that there's whole teams that has to, to have to get aligned on that stuff. And typically somebody has to take ownership of all that and work across the different departments to make sure that, that you can get those things integrated. But I've been through 6 or 7. So
wow.
I feel like I got my battle scars from doing that.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of RevOps 500. This podcast is a great opportunity and channel for revenue operations and much more. If you've been thinking about a podcast or you want to shift production to a friendly team, check out ringmaster.com. They're the team behind this podcast. RevOps 500 is sponsored by Computan. Computan serves as the back-end dev and technology team for shorthanded marketing agencies and departments. Shorthanded? Wait a minute, that sounds like me. Now, let's get back to it. The end.
So, like, now, would you bring in a project manager from outside both the organizations, or would it be from the acquiring? And then wouldn't they have the acquiring's interest in mind? And isn't there that friction there between the acquirer and the acquiring and the staff that have been acquired that now has a boss and a team they didn't choose? I mean, how does all that?
It really depends, organization to organization. Most of the time the acquirer is taking leadership on that. But in my past company, a lot of that, the leadership, it depends on the leadership. Does the leadership recognize where the talent's at to do that between the two organizations to make sure that, that no balls get dropped, that no customer issues. I mean, never mind the fact that now you have to rebrand. And I did that on my second day at this last company that I was at. They announced that they were rebranding. We made these 3 acquisitions, and they now had come up with this new brand for the global company. Wow. So I had to go through that process for marketing and sales and customer success. And so we had to educate 2 different customer, those names were going away. Those were becoming brand identities rather than company identities. So you have to educate customers on that and get them up to, and you have to do that for a while. You can't just be like, okay, we've gone from company X to now we're company Y and everybody just immediately gets on board. You have to continue to market that, just like, you're acquiring that customer all over again with your new brand identity. So you have to show up at events, and your marketing has to reference like formerly X company, formerly Y company, and Z company, and until people finally start calling you by the new company name. And that just takes, from my experience, again, this, could be different for everybody out there. But at least a year, you're going to see those references, if not longer. Just depends on how long the brands have been around and in the marketplace. So that's marketing effort that has to go towards that. That's sales effort that has to go towards that rebranding. Customer success and service delivery has to, to remind people that, we're a new company and we're, our new shingle says this, and, that kind of thing. So
that's so interesting.
It's fun. Yeah. You see the gray hairs, like, I got these naturally, from years and years and years of, all these fun things, but no, those are great challenges. Like they build you as a professional. You get to, kind of go about doing new and interesting ways of solving problems across organizations so that you can ultimately, at the end of the day, provide value to that customer who's trying to solve a problem. And then when you do that well, you're rewarded in the marketplace, right? So, so that's what you're trying to do. But, in all these companies, like, they weren't just acquiring companies to acquire companies. They were acquiring companies because they were thinking about the customer.
Exactly. Brian, there's a couple things I want to hit on there. But the first one, obviously, is most of our listeners are listening on a podcatcher, so they're not going to see their gray hairs or my gray hairs or anything like that.
I forgot we were talking. We're
gonna at least with the video guys. Yeah, unfortunately for them, sorry. They should turn the videos off. Both of our videos off. Sorry, at least mine for sure. So don't worry about that. But like, the interesting point you made was like, like how how it is like it is a grind, and like there is all the politics and the grand because you're trying to solve for the customer, but how do you solve for the customer? What's the best way of doing it in RevOps when you have these mergers and acquisitions happening? And yeah, it's a lot to think about. It's just a lot to talk about, even just the work. You got tired just thinking about those things. Like, man, it's a lot of work because you have different processes, systems, you said email providers. I mean, those are all things that can really cause this thing to run long, and it will almost never be over, right? I mean, like, and then turnover in employees and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, like RevOps is an internal name, right? Like
Yes.
like really what it should be, if we were externally facing, like positioning what we're doing, like
Yeah.
it's value operations, like, or,
Yeah.
the value that we're providing to our customers, or, I haven't thought this through, but like, I've always had trouble with like what would a customer think if we told them we had a team that, their whole job was to make sure that, from acquisition to, to implementation and, ongoing support, that we had a team that their whole job was to think about how do
All
we
those
do that
things.
the most efficiently? Yeah. How do we do that the
Yeah.
most efficiently to capture the revenue sooner?
Yeah.
Like, and obviously we're selling B2B. So, they've got to
Yeah.
keep their lights on too. So, and they
Yep.
probably had a RevOps team inside their organization, but, just
Exactly.
from a positioning standpoint, I sometimes think like, what we're really focused on is, alignment and value at the end of the day for our customers. And, how we do that is going to change from from organization to organization. And
100%.
organizations are made up of people. So you have to have people that like working with each other, that like communicating with each other, that like thinking about the customer, and doing that the most effective and efficient way that they can. And when you do all those things right, that's when you really struck on something that's gold, and you feel good about what you're doing in RevOps, because you're getting that customer the return, like why they gave you $1 because they're expecting to get $10 out of
Coming
it.
back. Yep.
So when you can do that for them more efficiently, like that gets them on to doing the thing that they want to do, the impact that they want to make in this world. So that's exciting when we know that, when we're doing our jobs well in RevOps, that, our customers are having more success faster. They're getting the return on what they, invested their dollars, or, their currency, whatever they might be using into, that solution that's solving their problem. So, when we think about it that way, like that makes me feel good for, what we're doing inside of RevOps and the different organizations that I've worked in to do that.
And what about the future? Like, what excites you about the future? I mean, what you're doing now, and then those sorts of things. What gets you like really jazzed up?
As a, I have a background in data science. So,
Right.
like, as I think about how technology is evolving, and how even manual processes can be made more efficient through large language models, call it AI, call it what, whatever you want to say, but that intelligence that's going to, to help make the people inside of RevOps even more efficient at, getting the right customer information over to the right group at the right time. That's what excites me, is that just the evolution of the technology, and knowing that it's often more efficient than the human, that, that it'll be able to identify problems like, oh, we've got this set up. We incorrectly, you could do this more effectively. I mean, just the prompts and alerts and that kind of stuff are going to get better. They're going to help us understand our customer challenges better as they look at, across the spectrum, that continuum of, how the engagement goes from acquisition to to sale,
Tails.
and that kind of stuff. And like, there's companies out there that are just doing some incredible things with AI, and that are going to be, implemented into other company stacks, so that kind of
later.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, as they demonstrate value with more and more customers, you're going to see more and more companies evaluating those solutions, buying those solutions. so yeah, just I'm like everybody else, geeking out about everything that's happening with these large language models and AI and generative AI and that kind of stuff. So so yeah, I I I want my time to be used the most efficiently. I don't want to waste time. I don't want to do rework. I don't want to move data around, that kind of stuff. Like I want solutions that, that are smarter than or faster, more efficient, that kind of stuff, that can do that stuff without having to put our efforts there, so we can focus on the customer, figuring out those things that help the customer.
Got it. And you talked about you not wanting to waste your time and being more efficient, and you think that's kind of the future of RevOps. So let's talk about your time a little bit. Like what do you I mean what do you do when you're not geeking out on this kind of stuff? Like I mean, like, what are you doing for fun? What are you doing to stay sharp? Anything in particular, like hobby wise, or?
Oh yeah, yeah. You can see some guitars behind. Well, no, you can't
Yeah,
see guitars.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can
yeah.
see
I,
guitars,
I,
but
I can see him. I know about him. Yeah, I know
but
about him.
the listeners can't see the guitars.
Yeah.
I am I'm a big advocate, and I work in the area of brain health now,
Yeah.
and it's long-term brain health. Like the things that I do today, like, are things that will help with my long-term brain health. So, continuous learning, challenging my brain, doing, like when you play the guitar, right? You're doing two things at once. Like, and when you add singing into that,
It's three.
it's three things. Like, your body's
That's right.
doing, your hands are doing two different things at the same time. You're listening to other people, you're singing, to other players and that kind of stuff. So that, that's obviously one of my recreations that I enjoy. I like to exercise. I love spending time with family, going on vacation, just, like everybody else. And then I geek out on, like, trading card games and, um, other things like digital collectibles and that kind of stuff. So
Awesome.
those things I love, just, cause they're fun, they're social, and those are all good things for your brain health. So yeah, I like to do all the things that long-term are going to help me plan for my long-term brain health. Cause most of us don't think about that. Like that's what
Absolutely.
platform is. My dad saved his entire life. He had a retirement account. He planned for retirement. But he never, kind of worried about, like, his long-term brain health. And so he was, his lifestyle, no different than a lot of people here in America. Just the way he ate, the way he drank, the lack of sleep, all the things that are, you know, negative risk factors for long-term brain health issues. He just ignored, and,
That's too bad.
succumbed to dementia and Alzheimer's disease, and left this early a few years ago. And that created my platform to really go out and kind of educate people on, how do you stay brain healthy and plan, just like you're planning for your retirement, you need to plan for your long-term brain health, so your golden years stay golden. So that's what I'm working on, kind of when I'm not working.
Yeah. So tell us about the platform. Tell us about what you're doing with Differ and everything else.
Yeah. It's we are pre-release on it, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to what we're calling intervenables is taking lifestyle interventions and make them, searchable, easy to understand, where you don't need a PhD, MD to understand that. Obviously, you need to have a relationship with your physician and get the best care. But these are just things that you can incorporate into your daily life, so that, you can, have that better long-term brain health. I mean, one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is that, they might know that they need to have a caffeine curfew so that they have better restorative sleep at night. But, you got to have a curfew on the sugar that you intake too, because the sugar causes inflammation in the brain, that can be damaging, not one night, but many, many, years and decades of that. That inflammation, that chronic inflammation, is bad for our brains. Your brains need that time at night to kind of get washed. And and refreshed, so that they're good and ready to go in the morning so you can get up and do your work. But most of us, we don't think about that kind of stuff. So an intervenable would be, having a curfew for sugar consumption, prior to bedtime. You don't want to, and we lay out the evidence behind that. But most people don't want the evidence. They just want to know, what's the thing I can do? What's the intervenable? And so it's a community built around that so that we can educate people on how to, be the top boss of their brain health. Because a lot of us are bad bosses. That's my problem. That's a lot of people's problem, is we're a bad boss. We just don't do the thing. So we're working on that. Obviously we have some plans for some technology to put in the hands of people, so that they can have access to intervenables, as they're thinking about things. And, but, at first it's just more about kind of education and awareness, raising that in business groups and stuff. That's my area of focus is business professionals and super achievers. Because I understand the business lifestyle. Like we sleep when we can. We're constantly stressed from work, and chronic stress is not great for your brain. So
Absolutely.
We're coming up with intervenables to help, help those individuals, you kind of understand the risk and the things that they can do. Because I didn't know this. I mean, I didn't know this until I really started digging into this, but you can prevent things like Alzheimer's and dementia through lifestyle interventions. You just have to do it the decades before the symptoms show up.
Absolutely.
The symptoms are, it's too late. You can only reverse or slow down Alzheimer's or dementia when you start demonstrating those symptoms, like the brain fog that's, constant, the forgetting, and, those kind of things. And it doesn't have to be that way. I kind of worry. I'm in my 50s, and am I too late? Probably not, because I, had a pretty healthy lifestyle. The actor Chris Hemsworth, he got some notification on that show. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. The Limitless show. Yeah. And he took a little bit of time off of work to kind of think through, because the genetics, people always focus on the genetics when it comes to brain health. But just because you have the APOE4 gene and you have 2 pairs of it doesn't mean you have a higher risk of developing dementia and Alzheimer's, but it doesn't mean you're going to get that, because you can live a healthy lifestyle. You can eliminate those. Depending on which doctor you talk to, there's upwards to 40 risk factors that they look at in lifestyles that can cause it. At the cellular level, all the way up to, just the, environmental stuff, like, toxins. People don't often think about, long-term exposure to toxins causes issues with brains. And again, it's repeated use over many decades. I call it self-decay. We have this self-decay that's going on
every day.
Every day. And it's under the surface. It's insidious. Like it's happening. And we don't know it. We're too busy with our lifestyles, and we don't necessarily think about our brain health. But our brain health, like once that goes, like there's a reason why it's incurable. And I love the pharmaceutical industry. They're trying to solve it through single compound, single variable solutions. And if there's 39 other things that are happening that can cause that same type of
problem
that leads to cognitive decline, you're not going to capture it with one drug, and nobody's going to take 40 pills, that kind of thing. So you can do it with your lifestyle. So that's what we're working to help people out with is to really help them understand the things in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that will prevent that cognitive decline when they're trying to enjoy, those golden years, those years when things kind of slow down and you take a step back from working full time and enjoy more time with family and travel and that kind of stuff. And just seeing my dad not get to experience that, it was tough, because he was 5 years retired and then just got sick. And then he spent the rest of his, the next 8 years trying to stop from dying from that disease, and that disease is unrelenting. It doesn't stop. It, once it takes hold, he had to succumb to it. So,
Brian, where could everybody learn more about you and connect with you more, learn more about you and for the platform itself?
Yeah. If you go to differgreatly.com, that will probably redirect you to crackingalz.com, which is my website that really kind of goes into detail of what that that community is working on to prevent and crack Alzheimer's. So yeah, but differgreatly.com is probably the easiest to remember and go to. And I'm all over the interwebs, if you all over the internet, as at Think Stout. So if you want to, kind of look me up on the different channels, LinkedIn, Facebook, I go under Think Stout. So yeah,
sure.
Or thinkstout.com if you want to, if you're just curious about a little bit about my background, that's the personal page, but it's more like a resume than anything else.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, well, look, Brian, this is amazing. I mean, we touched on RevOps, like what it's like on the ground level in a startup or a non-for-profit environment. We've talked about RevOps and mergers and acquisitions. We've talked about how SalesOps and RevOps can be a myth. It's just been you talk about your own personal connection to brain health as well. It's been an amazing time to kind of chat with you. I really appreciate you. You got the guitars, I've got the tabla and the ukulele behind me. It was a jam session without jamming at the same time. And I appreciate you taking the time out to do this with me. Thanks a lot for doing it.
Yes, Sajeel, really enjoyed it. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, and to the audience, if you learned something today or laughed a little or laughed a lot, tell someone about the podcast. Brian, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, this has been another exciting episode of RevOps 500, and we will see you all next time. And that wraps up another episode of RevOps 500. Thanks for joining. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at RevOps500.com. RevOps 500 is sponsored by CompuCare, providing technical and development expertise to growth-focused marketing teams.